Saturday. It's after 1. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. We are waiting for our guests, Kathryn Duflo. I suspect there's some technical difficulties. I do everything by phone, and it's not always easiest to. I suspect there's some technical difficulties. Sorry, as you can see, technical difficulties are my specialty. Overcoming technical difficulties, however, is not my specialty. But we'll see what happens. The link has been sent, and it's also for the guest only, on my page, my wall, my platform, whatever it is exactly called. So we'll see if we can work it out. I hope so. Hey, Betty, Jamie, and Selma. Selma, I see that you're not feeling well. I'm sorry to hear that. Sometimes it works well if the guest is just a little bit late, because then I start the conversation. And when she joins, it means I can go in and edit my part out where I'm doing this, where I'm just talking to you guys. And then my live stream becomes long form video content. Hey, Lee. So we'll see. I'm waiting for an email, or for her to pop up, whichever happens first. Just a brief introduction, and I would probably give another introduction when Kathryn gets here. Ever hopeful that Kathryn was introduced to me through a mutual friend, my recent friend of the last few months, Vicky Poppy. And Vicky has been Kathryn's friend for quite some time. She was her original course teacher, and she's been practicing the course for, I think, about 40 years or so. So there's a connection there. And Vicky introduced me to Kathryn and thought that we'd have a great time having a conversation. Hey, I see Vanilla, how are you? Our conversation turned political in a good way. Politics doesn't have to be divisive. You often hear me say that we're not going to talk politics here. I've amended that a little bit as we've had some guests on who do want to talk politics. Yesterday, politics came up just a little bit. But we're not going to be divisive about it. It's okay for you to think, to believe, to vote, however it is you think, believe, and vote, as it is for me. I don't have any wish to make you wrong. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't want to be right. It means I'm going to do my best not to be addicted to being right. And that's a big thing. Because most of us, our one big addiction is being right, above all else. Even when we know we're wrong, we are insisting that we're right. By that I mean that no one likes to hurt someone else. And we know we're never right when we have hurt someone else. And yet, here we go, guys. Here's our guest. Hi, Kathryn.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Good. We don't have visual yet. Is there a little button to press?
I have to press a button.
Yep. I think there should be maybe a little camera type icon, somewhere on your phone.
Huh. On this page, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. It was showing me. I could see me standing next to you until I pushed the show live video feed.
Right.
And now there's no picture.
Yep, there's a little K setting there. How about if you press it again? Let's see what happens.
No.
Is there another link? One thing we can do is also try to back out and come back in.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. And if not, you still there? Oops. If not, we'll proceed without visual. I'm glad you still have power, ladies guy. We'll be starting the show in just a minute. Guys, please ask any questions that are pertinent to the conversation. And let's try this again. We did it.
You can see me?
I can see you.
I can see you too. Hello again.
Hello. I was, as we were waiting, I was giving you a brief introduction that I met you last week, and that introduced by a mutual friend, a recent friend for me, Vicky Poppy, but a longtime friend for you, right?
Yes, Vicky and I have known each other more than 40 years.
And she introduced you to the Course in Miracles, right?
She did in 1984. We were both living in the Boston area at that time. And I actually found a flyer in Cambridge where I lived for a Course in Miracles meeting. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And I went into Boston and I went to a meeting. And it turned out Victoria was in Egypt with her cousin riding camels and visiting the Sphinx. So I didn't meet her for a few weeks after that.
What do you think of that title, A Course in Miracles? And was it what you expected when you showed up?
A Course in Miracles revolutionized my life. I had been born and raised Catholic and had more or less left the church in my early 20s. And nothing I read, nothing I heard about made overwhelming sense to me, enough so that it made me feel pulled in to joining a church. By the way, I keep hearing talk over me. My talk is reverberating.
How's
Is
this
there
now?
any? Yes, yes. Okay, now that it's better. It isn't completely gone, but it's better.
Okay.
So when I started reading A Course in Miracles, which I very admittedly will say that the course is not for everyone. It's written in a somewhat archaic sense, but what it teaches can be found. The profound lessons of it can be found many, many places, including in most of the Far Eastern religions. The course existed, was channeled and exists to kind of have a rewrite on Christianity. And it was so overwhelmingly perfect to me that I was stunned. I mean, everything I objected to in religion had been rewritten in the Course in Miracles.
I like to think of it as a do-over.
It's a do-over, exactly. That's a good way of putting it, Eric. And the basic teachings of the course are what I live by, because they're just very commonsensical. And there's nothing there that you cannot experience for yourself. I'm a St. Thomas type of person,
Mm.
that I have to see it to believe it. I have to understand it and experience it to believe it. I don't have what most people refer to as faith. I have show me. I probably should have been raised in Missouri,
Missouri, right? The show me state.
the show me state.
Now that was the thing that revolutionized your life, of course, miracles, but that wasn't strictly your only path, right? You've delved into a lot of non-dual traditions, right?
I've delved into a lot of non-dual traditions because I wanted to find out. Um, the Course in Miracles takes you very far, but it doesn't take you as far as you can go, if you understand what I'm saying. There's a point at which it's like, for me, it was like jumping off a waterfall. I had gone as far as I could go with the course, and it can take other people the whole way. But what happens is that because this is a do-over for Christianity, it functions largely in a very what we know of as spiritual sense of Jesus, and talking about it talks about heaven, it talks about God, and there came a point for me where I needed to move beyond those parameters. I needed to explore and find out if there was more. And so I started looking at non-duality. And the course does reference non-duality without using that word. It talks about the oneness of
Mm.
everything, but then it starts talking about God again. And so I started asking myself, well, what is this God? This, this was part of my own journey. And, uh, I came to my own understandings of what that was, and it was helped along by reading and listening to some of the non-dual teachers, like Francis Lucille, for
Mhm.
instance. His teacher was Jean Klein, the Frenchman, Jean Klein. I the first person I probably tripped over is who is just a little older than I would be, but who has died. Her name was Suzanne Segal,
Right.
and she wrote a wonderful book. What was it called? Collision with the Infinite, I think.
Collision with the Infinite, stepping off
Yeah,
the curb and
yeah,
off
at a
of a
bus
bus.
stop
Yeah.
in Paris. Yes, it was wonderful. That was a very early book that I read. There wasn't that much around that was written for the Western mind at that point. This was maybe 1990 by then. And of course, today there are literally hundreds of books and writers and teachers, people who have had wonderful experiences, both from the point of view of places like the Course in Miracles and from other non-dual
Right.
perspectives.
That was a very harrowing experience for Susan. She spent
Sus-
decades believing that she might have lost her mind a bit.
Because there were very few people around that she could go to and compare notes with,
Right.
that she was aware of. One of my very early teachers was the writings of Jiddu Krishnamurti,
Hmm.
and he was writing for the West. But again, you have to find these people. You have to and listen to them. I mean, he was remarkable.
Do you think that Krishnamurti was? Do you think he went all the way?
Um, I don't know. Um, his writings certainly indicate that he may have.
Right.
Um, I, I don't. I have no idea. I was just so grateful for what he taught me, and how far he took me. Another one I read and listened to a lot was the writings of Ramana Maharshi,
Right.
who is long gone by then as well. But there are so many teachers out there now. Anyone can go on the internet and just type in non-duality on Google, and they'll get lists
Right.
of
And there's
writers.
teachers all across Facebook that, and you can actually sit on Facebook with a lot of these. A lot of people who have had awakening experiences through Francis Lucille and Jean Klein, um, Rupert
Rupert Spira
Spira.
is a current one who's really excellent. Uh, a teacher up in New England, whom I know, she's also a very close friend of Vicky's, is Lisa Natoli and her husband Bill Free.
Lisa was on a month or so ago. She was instrumental for things that I've done for my channel. Actually, Vicky was the after she came up in my live stream so graciously, she sent me a text saying, "Thank you for finally saying yes to your purpose with the Holy Spirit," and that meant everything to me.
Um,
And then Lisa came up, and Lisa said after she came up, she asked if I could make some videos of our talk together. And I said no, because I don't know how to do it. Um, and I sort of had an intuitive voice that said, "Do you not know how to do it, or have you never tried?" And the truth is, I had never tried. So I did, and I sent a whole bunch to Vicky, and Vicky said, "Thank you." And she echoed what Vicky said. You only said yes partially because not everyone is going to watch a hour and a half live stream or rewatch it, but someone who absolutely needs to find that 1 minute clip or the 3 minute clip, someone who's maybe about to take a drink for the first time in a decade, or is depressed or lonely, convinced that no one loves them, is going to find that clip, and it's going to be exactly what they need in that moment. So, yeah, Vicky and Lisa,
Lisa,
yep, and Bill was supposed to come up, I think, in February sometime.
I understand he's returning to the United States around the 8th of February.
So I'm looking forward to talking to him as well. Vicky introduced me to you, and we had a wonderful phone conversation, talking quite a
We
bit
did.
about this, talking about non-duality,
Hmm.
and we had a very loving and very kind talk about politics.
Well, before we go over to that side of the board, I'd like to make a comment or two about non-duality for
Sure.
people that maybe aren't familiar with it, and so it may be using a word that's strange to them.
Right.
So, if you're not familiar with non-duality and have been going to church for years, and you pray and you talk with God, I don't mean to imply at all that that's something that you should move on from. I think that you're doing the exact perfect thing for you and the exact right thing for you. And who God is to you is is something that deepens and more understanding as we're open to it. And there's no need to move on from this at all. If you're supposed to, it'll just sort of sweep you along in the stream eventually. The only difference between traditional Christianity or any traditional religion that has God as its focus is that non-duality says God and you, or God and I, or God and Eric are one. There's nothing separate from what we call God in that sense. Eric and I are one. You and I are one. We're all just one. And that oneness carries with it an experience that will carry us through our entire lives in the most amazing and thrilling way if we allow it to. And so that's why some people talk about non duality. And you can practice non duality even within traditional Christianity and other religions, although your understanding will be slightly different. And so that's really all I was going to say about that, Eric.
It's amazing to consider some of the early Christians, the Desert Fathers, uh,
Yes,
Meister Eckhart, uh,
yes.
Julian of Norwich, Saint Teresa.
Hildegard, yes,
Yep.
The two Saint Teresas,
And
Hildegard of Bingen.
they went all the
Uh,
way. They
they
went all the
did.
way. Meister Eckhart's great saying, "The eye in which I see God is the same eye in which God sees me," is
Yeah.
a wonderful non-dual saying.
Comment. Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't know he said that. Thank you for telling me.
sure. Um,
That's Meister Eckhart.
Meister Eckhart.
Mm.
Amazing that he did not get stoned or set fire to after
Yes.
after he said that.
Are you familiar with Father Richard Rohr,
I am.
ROHR?
I am.
I sometimes am amazed that he hasn't been thrown out of the church.
Right.
He's really walked a fine line between what the church teaches and what the oneness that Richard teaches.
Same with Anthony DeMello, if you've read any of
Yes,
his work.
yes. He's earlier, but yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and he was very much of course he was steeped in Eastern tradition because of his birth, um, but was also a Catholic priest, Jesuit priest.
Yes. Yes. Even Thomas Merton, are you aware of, you know who Thomas Merton was?
Yes.
And he was a priest, a Benedictine, who was in a large Benedictine monastery in Kentucky. I've been down there. And are you aware of how he died, the circumstances of that?
Involved the ceiling fan.
I don't know if it was a ceiling fan, but yes, I didn't really mean physically how he died, but he did die. He got out of the bathtub while he was at a conference in somewhere like I'm thinking it was Bangkok,
Mhm.
and it was a conference on Eastern and Western religion, and he got out of the bathtub and he stepped on the floor with a wet foot, and I think he stepped on a cord somehow that electrocuted him. It was just amazing. But what I'm actually referring to is that a day or two before he died, and he was a fairly young man yet, he was only in his early 60s, I think. He had an incredible spiritual experience there in the East. And it was a deep experience of oneness, I think, from what I read in his Asian journal, which is the last thing that was published with his writing.
It, it
And
was
then he
Thomas.
died.
Yeah, it was
It's like
Thomas
he checked
Burton.
out. Excuse me.
Um, it was Thomas Burton who indirectly led me to my my own non-dual experience uh, with Douglas Harding's headless
He-
experiments.
Headless experience, yeah.
Because when Thomas Burton was in Tibet, um, he wanted to have an initiation into Dzogchen, uh,
Mm,
the non-dual experience of Tibetan Buddhism.
okay.
And the Lama, elderly Lama, said, "Well, it takes time. That I, the initiation, you build up to it, and then you're initiated, you have the experience. But something made the Lama change his mind, as if he had a premonition that Thomas Merton didn't have a whole lot of time, and he gave a direct transmission of that non-dual experience through the Dzogchen that dramatically changed Thomas Merton. And I've read about that, and I immediately researched Dzogchen and trying to uh, find a teacher, and I found Sam Harris.
I'm not
Who
familiar.
Sam
Mm-mm.
Harris is a sort of a philosopher. He's a skeptic. He's an atheist, but he has traveled extensively in the East, and he teaches um, meditation, non-secular meditation. Um, and he wrote about Douglas Harding and how to have that same experience that Thomas Burton through direct pointing. Um, so I got in touch with Richard Lang, who was a student of Douglas Harding, and I did the pointing uh, experiment and had a very profound uh, non-dual experience of just being aware. And so indirectly, Thomas Burton led to my non-dual um, search.
That's an interesting extension of the topic of non-duality, is what you just expressed. Can you say a little more for the audience? What changed for you immediately in that moment?
What changed most dramatically was the complete desire to give up the search. That all this time I was looking for a fantastic experience. I was looking for flashing lights and the absence of Eric. And through the pointing, there was the awareness to Eric. Eric didn't disappear, but there was Eric appearing within this infinite awareness that couldn't be quantified. It wasn't my awareness and someone else's awareness, and little sections of awareness throughout a universe. It was just awake and aware, and it wasn't the absence of thought. It was the awareness of thoughts. It wasn't the absence of the personality. It was the awareness of the personality, and everything just fits so seamlessly uh, into this.
You moved into your real mind. Yeah. I go in and out of this, mostly out still, although I value every single moment in my right mind that I have. But the first thing that ever happened was I instantly understood we are one. And I think that's what you're referring to when you
Right.
said there's not one, there's not two, there's not this and that. It was so profound. And it was very simple and very quiet. Oh, I said, I'm now seeing from the experience of we're all one. It was just an understanding. Not physical seeing, but a
Right.
profound understanding. And I have to say that the times, and there've only been a few when I've actually had that happen, uh, they are the deepest experiences of my life. Just to sit and know and really know the truth is we're all one is just amazing.
Changes everything, doesn't it?
It changes everything.
You
You
can't
never
quite.
look you, you never look at the world the same way again.
I was gonna say you can't quite go back.
You can't. No. You may slip here and there, and go through all the negative emotions that we all have, but you pull out of them much quicker because you go, "What am I wasting my time reacting like this?"
Right. Right.
You say. And that leads us to the topic you wanted to talk about today, which is politics, from politics to love. I think that's a good entry point
Yes.
for that.
Um, Here's what's been coming up on the last couple live streams. I had a bit of a epiphany. Uh, Oddly enough, getting out of the shower today, um, and the phrase "above the battleground" has shown up in my live stream a couple of times. Then hey, it's a lovely phrase, and I love that thought of rising above the battleground of politics. Um, but I'm wondering now. My little epiphany was: should we rise above the battleground? Metaphorically, or before we came up, I was reading some quotes in the course. Uh, Only loving thoughts are real. Only loving thoughts are true. Maybe it's maybe we need to let go of the metaphor of battleground and entertain our loving thoughts.
Well, I think that's a good loving thought. I think that um, I think people first of all have to feel what they feel. If you're in the middle of being very upset and angry and hurt, it isn't easy to switch that sometimes
Right.
into a loving thought. But it can be done, and the way to do it is to accept the anger, step back you don't even have to step back from it. You can just be in it, but be aware that you're in it and that you're angry, upset, hurt, fearful, and ask for help if you need to. Ask for help. Ask spirit, ask whatever you believe in to give you a to look at this a different way. And in doing that, that's rising above the battleground. It's just letting yourself be aware that you need to shift gears and that you want to shift gears. But it isn't trying to push away the bad thoughts, because that sometimes can lead to what I'm sure you're familiar with too, which is spiritual bypassing,
Right.
which is simply that you just have really, in essence, just pushed it away. It isn't, you haven't eliminated it. It's just been pushed out of the picture for the moment. Okay.
Speaking of bypassing, we seem a little reluctant, probably uh, whatever side of the political aisle that we might find ourselves on, we seem a little reluctant to explore our anger. What are we angry about, Kathryn?
Well, it depends on well, the short answer is we're never angry about anything because there's nothing to be angry about.
Right.
Uh, since I mean, if you follow my philosophy, which is this is a dream state that we're in, and we're making it up as we go along, there's really nothing to be angry about. Is that what you're referring to? Or did you
Um,
mean some
I actually let's get away from the deeper metaphysics a little bit to the boots on the ground. That this side is angry about something, this side is angry about something else, and as
Mhm.
long as we're holding on to that anger, and most of it is unexplored, we're just angry. We don't even know why we're angry. Um, but there has to be now. I'm going to go with the course. There has to be another way.
Well, the Course in Miracles, if you want to go from that perspective, teaches that there's only two emotions, love or fear. So when we feel angry, what we're doing is we're venting our fear. Um, and that usually happens, in fact, it always happens for a reason. And what that reason always is underneath the surface of things is it's a self-judgment going on. We have something going on that we're upset about ourselves with, or we're repressing in ourselves, and so we project it outward as as fear. So anything that isn't love is fear. It's really simple in life when it because everything boils down to this, and I found this to be true in my own walk with the Course in Miracles over the last 40 years. If it ain't love, it's fear. It can look like anger, it can look like hate, it can look like anything you can bring up, jealousy, whatever. It's always fear underneath. And that fear isn't about something out there, it's about something in us. Okay? And this is the core message that I would bring up today because this is so critical to changing our minds and becoming happy. To understand that the entire world is fueled by fear that we're projecting outward. Here's an interesting thing science has been saying for several years that cows are causing all the gas in the atmosphere, or the bulk of the gas in the atmosphere that causes global warming.
Right.
What I really think it is, the cows have nothing on us in terms of our mental state. It's our mental state, what we're projecting out into the entire dream world of the universe is fear. And that's what's going on politically. Now, everybody that um, we could say, if we're Democrats, that we're not guilty of this because we aren't doing anything wrong. We didn't vote for the opposite party. Okay. It's all of them that are wrong, right? But if we judge anyone, and this could be in politics or our personal lives, we called this, let's say it's politics. Then we have to face that we called this political group into power so we could judge them. We wanted to have somebody we could judge out there so that we don't have to hold on to our judgment in here, in our heart. We're projecting outward our fear. So, does this mean if somebody does something bad, we shouldn't object to it? No, I'm not saying we can't object to something that's obviously very wrong or bad. What I'm saying is I'm being called not to judge the person who did it. The Bible even talks about this. Don't judge the sinner judge of the sin and not the sinner. That word sin means something different to me than the Bible means it. But the Course in Miracles talks a lot about this too, about not judging people. It's a basic tenet of the Course.
Right. So we were talking about fear. We had a friend ask in the stream. So we lack courage, and I think it might be worth going over the fact that having fear doesn't necessarily mean the lack of courage.
It's interesting that this person is linking together the words fear and courage. I'd like to know why the person links them.
Right.
They're two different things.
I think sometimes when we experience fear, we think that we need to confront it in a very uh, upfront. I'm afraid, and I step up to my fear. And we were raised with that thought of we conquer fear. So and if we are experiencing fear and we're not seeking to conquer it, then we're giving in to fear. And the Course is very different in how they uh, would approach that.
The word courage here, the way it's being used, is it can be deceptive. So I could say, yes, if you aren't facing your fear, you're not being courageous. But courageous can cause all kinds of roadblocks here in this kind of sense. People don't feel the reason we don't face our fear is because of something we haven't talked about at all, which is the ego operating system that 99.9% of us are walking around letting run us. Okay, so the ego loves fear. It goes to great lengths to fool us into believing our fear is what we need to feel. It'll tell you, you're crazy if you don't feel fear. Look what's going on in this world. Okay? Its operating system is operating on us every single moment of the day. It's operating us right now. Okay? So I'm trying to pay attention to that even in what I'm saying to you.
It seems that fear keeps us caught in that sense of victimhood, and
That's a very good word to bring up.
so even being courageous is sort of a limited thing because we'll always set another bar in order to keep being a victim. That well, I've stepped up and I confronted this fear, and now I have another fear and another fear and another fear, which is you and I have been on that one spiritual path of for a long time seeking.
Yeah.
And there's always a carrot on the end of the stick. There's always another enlightened experience. There's another deeper meditation, a state that we're looking for. And I think it might be the same with victimhood, that we need to keep ourselves perpetually afraid.
Yes. And sometimes the best thing we can do is simply recognize where we are with it, because we're uncovering layers. We're like, is it archaeologists that find layers? No, what are those people that find rock layers called? I forgot.
Geologists?
Excuse me?
Geologist?
Geologists, yes. They uncover layers of rock, and each layer represents maybe what, 5 or 10,000 years or a millennium of time that's compressed this dirt and sediment into another kind of rock, and you can see how old the earth is. You can just by sometimes looking down through these layers of rock. Well, it's the same thing with our consciousness. We're going to go down, it's just going down through the layers. You keep drilling down, and you can ask spirit to drill with you so you have help and you have comfort and you have company that'll enlighten you as you go along. So And believe me, the further you go, you think, oh, I'm almost to the bottom. I've done through all the hard stuff. Well, I've found some of the hardest stuff show up late in the game here.
Hmm.
And it's so when we were talking before about courage, and then you mentioned victimhood is something we're all struggling with all the time, whether we know it or not, because the ego operating system wants us to be perpetually in victimhood. That's the whole operating system going on that runs the world. Everything we see in politics is a result of victimness. People feeling like victims, people wanting other people to feel like victims so they're not alone in it. It's all fear, all the time, 24/7. So,
Kathryn, we have a question.
yeah,
Isn't the ego itself a manifestation of fear?
yes, it's all it is. It's when we came into what we call time and space. I think we came in to have a nice time and experience ourselves as something other than one. I think this oneness broke apart. Part of it broke apart, not all of it, and wanted to experience time and space. And then I think it forgot what it was doing, what it was. It got carried away, which is easy to do. And now the whole universe is simply traumatized. It, the whole Megillah, the whole oneness has forgotten the part that has forgotten what it was, has deeply forgotten what it. We're asleep, in other words.
Right.
And you and I are having this conversation because we're waking ourselves up, and we want to let anyone else join us who's at the point of wanting to wake up from the dream. This is not a happy dream for the most part. And if you want to join us and you want to wake up, I'm so glad you're here today, because there are no accidents. We're having this conversation, and you're here to take part in it. So, no, I just want to tell Kundalini King 42, you don't lack courage, but sometimes it's hard to discern where you are. So just take a deep breath and ask for help. Okay.
Which
And go ahead.
that might be one of the bravest things we can actually do is ask for help.
Yes.
And ask for help physically. We can ask for help from a friend, from a guide. And metaphysically, we can ask for help from the Holy Spirit, from Jesus, from Krishna, whatever personal symbol
Yes.
connects us to the source itself, and we can go right to the source if that is our call.
Yes. Yes, it is. And so let me comment on politics in this way. If you were if you are for if you are for the political leadership that we have right now, you felt it was right to vote for this person or this group of people, then they're showing you with their actions and policies what fear really looks like in action. And if you are coming from the Democratic side and you didn't vote for this group of people and you judge them, that's why they've been called into power at this time and place, so that they're a gift to us. Okay, and I know this is hard to hear for a lot of people. They are a gift to us because they're showing us, when we don't judge them, we may not like what they're doing, but if we don't judge them, we are elevated above the battlefield and moved into what is called our right mind. And you can try this for yourself and see what it's like. All you have to do is ask for help and decide that you're going to rise above the battlefield in your heart, and you're going to see what's going on and see what it does for you. You'll notice what it does for you, because this is allowing love to take over as your operating system. So, since there are only two emotions, love or fear, when you go above the battlefield, it should elevate you into your mind that is run by love, which is your true operating system again. Okay? Try it.
This is where, and you and I talked about this on the phone. This is the place that Gandhi emerged from. This is a place where Martin Luther King
Yes.
emerged from, and all the great leaders.
Wonderful examples of both those people.
Right. Abraham
Yeah.
Lincoln called on us for our better angels. What a
Yes.
lovely, lovely metaphor
Yeah.
of asking for help and stepping aside. You know, the great line, lesson 25, which is what coming up tomorrow in the course. I don't know what anything is for. That little bit of openness that, James Twyman, who's really good friends with Vicky, he would probably put it of maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. Doesn't mean that you have to believe that someone is, but that little maybe, that I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to entertain, that maybe we have a point of connection instead of a point of disconnect. And that
The point of connection, and isn't the point of connection always understanding that we are one? You know, again, it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that the opposite side uh, is right. You can just take the whole. You vote for who you believe you need to vote for, but let's leave what they do and the whole politics out of it a moment and just look at the person. We invited these people, this person, these politicians into our lives so that we could scrub out the operating system of the ego mind. Literally, they're a gift. You have to say, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here with me so I can learn not to judge you. Because in judging you, I'm simply projecting out what I have not forgiven in myself. Okay? And I know this is hard to hear, and I know this is even hard to understand, but just the next time you're judging someone, and you'll have a specific judgment going on that you can put into words, ask yourself, what are you pushing down in yourself that you don't like about yourself, or that you fear deeply in yourself, and you're projecting it outward onto the other person? Okay? And you can do this about anything. It doesn't have to be politics. It could be you're upset with somebody else for anything. But if you're upset, if that person is upsetting you, then this is your issue, not theirs. Let me tell you, after 40 years of doing this work, I can guarantee it's you, not them. It's me, not the other person I'm upset with. And if we can get this, which is it can be a very challenging lesson, but it's core to pure spiritual practice. If you can get this, it will change not only you, but it'll change the world. Okay.
Kathryn, we have another question.
Yes.
Is it only about judging people, or also about judging situations, things, events, etc.?
Can they give an example?
Ms. Flipper, can you give an example? And a statement, not a question, says, that's it, right? They're taking responsibility. That is the hardest. Taking responsibility for our projections.
Yes. Um, Anything, let me just repeat, anything that makes you react. So have you chosen love or fear? Okay, if it's fear, it's a judgment. It's that simple. It can be about anything. Anything can set us off. And then you have to just say, wait a minute, um, my ego's in control. What am I afraid of? Or what am I pushing down in myself?
I love, and you probably know him pretty well. Doug Fishman, David Fishman,
Yes. Yep.
uh, has a business card that says "Be grateful for your triggers." Um,
Yes. Yes. Good for Dove.
and it's so he's been up twice, and each time I learned so much from him that we we still look at our triggers as you've triggered me instead of that was my trigger.
Yes. Yes. Perfect comment. Thank you, Eric. Um, Probably using the example of politics and politicians. I jumped really into the deep end here. Some of you listening may not have been doing spiritual practices or maybe not for very long. And let me tell you, this is the deepest end of the pool. If you can get it here, you can get it anywhere. Look for where you get triggered the worst. And that is where your deepest lessons probably are. Um, it can be you can practice it on simpler things, or or if the deep end is presenting itself to you, then you're already there and ready to try the deep end. Okay. And there are a lot of people you can talk to or listen to that can help with this kind of thing. I'm very grateful to Eric for having me on today and for doing this show at all, because you're helping a lot of people by the kind of topics you're bringing up on the show.
Well, thank you, Catherine.
Yeah.
Um, we have some great comments as well as questions. One thing someone asked, ma'am, have you come across J. Krishnamurti, which we mentioned earlier, was a great teacher.
Yes, he is one of my key deepest teachers.
Um, and then we have Kundalini King says, love is a response, fear is a reaction.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
And of course, the Course says that um, fear is always a projection and
Yes.
love is always extended.
Yes. And going along with that, if you want some thoughts that you can easy things to remember, the entire world is a reaction. So you could say that our mindset is is reactive. Anytime we feel anything but love, we're in a reaction. And if you can remember that or give yourself something similar to remember, it helps a lot. What isn't love is fear. This is an old Course saying. What is not love is fear. So I can choose in every moment whether to have. Now, here's where courage comes in. Can I have the courage to love in this moment? Okay. Can I love even though it looks like, to use a very vulgar term, that we're sometimes in a, well, no, I won't use that term.
Uh, I know, I know the exact term that you were going with.
I bet you do. But things can look very bad. I have friends who've been doing this work as long as I have. And because we're later in our lives, we're in our 70s for most of us, some of us are in our 80s. Husbands and wives are becoming very ill and dying, many of them. And one person ends up being the caretaker. And you can end up being a caretaker for many years in very difficult situations. And I'm just using this as an example because I happen to know people, that are or recently been in this situation. And and that can be very, very difficult. They're having to choose not on a daily basis, but sometimes on a minute to minute basis. Am I going to choose love or am I going to choose fear? And this is where the rubber meets the road for them. This is where all of their learning has been channeling them. And are they ready to face the deepest, deepest challenges and find out what still hasn't, what still can trigger them? Where is there still a lot of fear operating? What level of the rock have they gotten down to here
Right.
to get to the bottom? And I
Um,
have, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I just have amazing um, inspiration from some of these people that are not caving into the triggers. They're not. They're seeing love and not fear in what they're doing. It's very hard when you have a mate that's dying or a child that's dying or a parent that's dying that you're very close to. These things are challenging. And so they've learned to have compassion and love without giving into fear, the intimidation of fear.
You summed that up so beautifully. My own experience as a caregiver for my mom through 8, 9 years Alzheimer's, teaching me an entirely new vocabulary of responsiveness versus reactiveness. Uh,
I
and then
bet.
it, and then an end of life caregiver for my father, and making decisions. And with my dad, my number one priority was to always let him know he was my dad. Our roles weren't reversed. Although I was doing things that he was no longer capable of doing for himself, he was my dad, and he was the one that I looked to. That just because physically he was incapable of doing this stuff, uh, in essence, my father and always my father, my respect, my love, my admiration, and I think that made such a difference with
Yeah.
him to be able to go through this declining state with your dignity intact.
Yes. Bravo, Eric. It's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
And you really faced all of the triggers. You faced the triggers, and in facing those triggers, tell us, can you, or would it take too long for you to really sit with it and figure it out or to see what it is? But what are some of the things you learned about yourself by bypassing fear and going into love like that? What did you learn about yourself?
Funny bypassing, um, because you can grit your teeth and try to navigate, especially with dealing with someone with Alzheimer's. Um, I'm not going to say this, I'm not going to do this. And it can be very stressful because you're attempting to bypass, to suppress. And then you find yourself yelling at your own child or your spouse or your cat or your dog because
Mm,
it needs to go somewhere. So it didn't make any difference if I was kind to my mom, but I was mean to my cat or my dog or my spouse. Um, it just meant that I bypassed reacting to my mom and I reacted to someone else.
um,
And the big realization was I had to, as you said, not confront that fear, but love myself through the fear and say, you know what, I'm scared. I don't know if I'm going to be the caregiver my mom needs. I don't know if I can make these end of life decisions for my dad. I didn't know until I did, and I just did it. But the most important thing to me was not bypassing all of that fear, so that it would come out and be expressed towards someone else, or that I would. And even then, I found out in the last few days, few months with my dad, I started suffering tremendous anxiety, uh, breathing issues, uh, insomnia. And on top of that, as someone who a meditation teacher, I found that I was suffering imposter syndrome, that I'm suffering all the things that I teach people how to navigate through. So I must be a horrible yogi. I must be a horrible Course in Miracles student. But because of the practice, specifically of the Course, more than anything, it was learning to love myself through the fear, through the dark emotions, not denying them and not projecting them outwards, but accepting them, investigating them, seeing where they came from, and responding to them gently, kindly. Being kind to ourselves is a wonderful quality to cultivate.
It sounds like you rose above the battlefield.
I hope so.
It
I think
sounds
my
like
dad.
you felt your feelings, you didn't bypass them or push them away, just what we were talking about earlier. And you felt everything, and it sounds like it helped you love yourself. The love in you was able to come up. Is that correct? Am I
You're correct. You're correct.
okay? This is an incredible example of exactly what we've been talking about.
If we were to put this same battlefield of, let's stick with this term caretaker. What if those who I once viewed as my political opposition, I was their caretaker? My job is to care for you. And
Yeah.
you were
Ah, perfect.
you inspired it. Because you know what? I didn't want my mom to have Alzheimer's. I
No.
didn't want my father to die from, and I don't want someone to vote for someone that I don't like. I don't want someone to vote for an entire belief system that is in opposition to where my greatest values lie. But if I'm their caretaker, I care for you in spite of what's going on. I care for you even though I can think you are suffering the delusion of this opposite belief. I can still care for you. And I can, as Ram Dass said, I can help, we can walk each other home.
We can walk each other home. That's right. I'd forgotten he said that. But see, there's the lesson of the whole hour we've just spent with each other right there. What you expressed about your family, and now you've transferred that learning over to what the topic was today, which is politicians, politics and politicians. That's really beautiful, Eric. Thank you so much for using the word caregivers with the people we disagree with. Or
You
even
gave
if
me,
we agree with them, however you want to, either side of that you want to take on. To caretake is to offer love, isn't it?
it
Instead
is,
of fear.
instead of fear. Beautifully said.
Yes. We don't have to like what they're doing. It's like if you have a child, suppose you have a 3-year-old and this kid is having a tantrum. Now, you don't like the tantrum, but you always love the child,
Right.
right? Yeah. Do you have another question somewhere?
We have a couple questions. Before I dive back in, I'm literally, I got some tears because of where you led me with those questions that you asked. Um,
We let each other.
we led each other. We were caretaking for each other.
We're caretaking right now in this moment. We are.
Um, I've had some wonderful, wonderful guests. This is one of the most meaningful experiences right now in this moment with you, and that I've had. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Um,
namaste.
Namaste. This is a statement from our friend Falcon. He says, "I choose love, but the world is still terrifying sometimes."
Falcon, you may not be coming from the Course in Miracles as I do, because the first thing I realize when I see the world as terrifying is it's a bad dream. And we have bad dreams at night. And what do we do from those bad dreams? What happens when we're done dreaming?
We wake up.
We wake up. Okay? So the terrifying dream, the world can appear terrifying. Just breathe. We're having a waking dream. Just breathe. Say, okay, the world is terrifying right now. I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to send some, and I'm going to send some love into it. And then watch what happens. Now, I don't mean I'm sending some love mentally. I mean from your heart. Genuinely from your heart. Send some love into the terror. And that's rising above the battlefield. See where it takes you. Eric and I aren't talking about anything today that we want you to learn or believe or see that you can't experience for yourself. This is an experiential conversation. We're telling you what we've read, what we've learned, that we tried out in our lives, as you just heard by listening to Eric talk about taking care of both of his parents for a long time. He is talking to you from his heart, from what he learned. Okay? And it's an incredibly valuable gift. And when you see the world as terror, you can even say, oh my God, thank you for this gift. Not that God put terror into the world. I'm not implying that. I'm just saying, oh God.
Right.
But you can say, thank you. I'm so grateful that terror you've shown up just so I can thank you and send love. Okay? Everything, what we're doing here today is we're reversing the normal flow of the world. What I'm doing, what Eric and I are doing, is talking to you and with you, I hope, about the fact that the world is completely run by something called the ego operating system, which does not have your best interests at heart. Okay? It has its own interests at heart, which are really nothing to do with what you are. By reversing the flow of energy here, by saying, wait a minute, I'm going to see love and not fear, you're reversing the operating system of the ego to the operating system of love, which is what you are, literally. You are made up of love. That love is the expression of oneness of all of us, of this incredible joy. And I can tell you, because I've experienced this, we are one. We are one. And that oneness is total peace, total joy, total happiness. And it's what we're all searching for. We think we're searching here for a better job, a better car, a better pension, a better lifestyle, some Ferragamo shoes or whatever. But underneath all of that, which is where we're asking you to take a peek, is we're looking for oneness. Okay?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Kathryn, I wanted to touch back on the dream and how we wake up. Because if we're dreaming,
Yeah.
that means those who we believe are in opposition to us for whatever reason, politically, uh, socially, whatever, that means
Mm-hmm.
they're dreaming too.
Mm-hmm.
And it means
Yeah.
everyone's innocent when they're asleep and dreaming.
Everybody's innocent, period. Is that what you mean?
Well, I specifically when they're asleep and dreaming, because I'm thinking about waking up. So they might not realize that they are, when they're awake, that they are pure, loving, and innocent. And we might
But
not
that's
realize when we're asleep that we're pure, innocent. But when I'm thinking of going back to our conversation with caregivers, that if my job isn't to shake you and yell in your face, wake up. It's
Right.
to be very kind, to help you wake up, to help myself wake up, to be gentle.
Well, I think that um, this may sound a little bit big, but I think our job is to love them awake by waking ourselves up. And if they wake up, fine. And if they don't, we've awakened, which will awaken others. And eventually everybody will get the message.
Right.
You know, it's my only job is the healing of my own mind, as the Course in Miracles puts it.
Right.
Um, my job is not to change anybody else, but to love them. Okay, to see them, and you will see them as one the minute that your mind opens up to the love that you are. Okay.
So you said this might sound a little big. Kathryn, I'm ready to go big.
Go big or go home, right?
Go big or go big or go home. I'm ready to go big. I'm ready to love.
Yes. Yes. Well, you asked what people can do. Um, the best thing I actually did make some notes on what people can do, but basically the best thing you can do is practice rising above the battlefield, and while you're there, ask from that perspective, are you seeing love or fear? And when you genuinely rise above the battlefield, you've removed yourself from fear, and let yourself know that if you've done it, you will feel and see things differently. And take some deep breaths and be there. And then from that perspective, see what you're supposed to do next. Just ask for help if you need to. Ask spirit, whatever you call this, spirit, God, the vastness, the emptiness, the fullness. There are different names people have and different meanings. Ask yourself, what is it you're supposed to do? Please help me. You know, and if you're asking for only your deepest good to be shown to you, you will receive it and you will experience it. Okay. Remember that that isn't love is fear. Remember that you are loved unconditionally, and your nature itself is unconditional love. Okay. And the more you do this work, the more you'll uncover the fact that your real nature is love, and you'll have a deepening sense of purpose here, because I do. Okay. And if it comes to me, and I sense it's come for Eric, hasn't it, Eric?
I believe so.
A deep sense of purpose. That sense of purpose appears and deepens. You'll have peace of mind. You'll have more times of happiness. Something that's really helpful is you'll have a deep sense of safety. Now, this is a good thing to touch on yet, because you could say, well, how could I have a sense of safety? Somebody might drop an atom bomb on us any minute. It's true. Somebody could drop an atom bomb on us any minute. All our lives, we've seen people die, their bodies die around us. So we know we can go out in a heartbeat. Okay. When you start knowing your real nature is love and not the ego operating system, and by love, I mean that you will have an awareness of your wholeness. You may have an awareness of your oneness with everybody and everything that comes. When you have that sense of who you really are, even you may not even be fully experiencing it, but you will have a sense of what you really are. It brings an incredible sense of safety. Okay. it will suddenly won't matter to you if an atom bomb goes off. And I know that's a really radical thing to be telling you. But you will recognize that this is the dream state you're in, and it doesn't matter because you're going to wake up. You're not going to die. There's no death. We're all one. We're all going to be one forever. Okay. And your safety will no longer be trapped in an illusionary world that we've put all of our faith in. Okay. You'll have given up fear. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say today, unless you have any more comments or questions.
We have a few more questions, but you've given us an amazing amount to, I'm not even going to say consider or to think about, to open up to, because you spoke some very important truths.
You and I talking have done this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me on your show today. Yeah.
I'm always amazed at the gracious yes that I get when I ask people to come up. I love the prayer, one of my favorite prayers in the Course of Miracles. I'm here only to be truly helpful, and
Yes.
you were truly helpful, Kathryn.
Well, thank you. But your story about your parents and you has deeply touched me. Let me read something.
Sure.
As long as we have a few more minutes. Are you going until 1:30?
We will go until we're done. No time limit.
Let me read the introduction to A Course in Miracles. It's only very brief.
Sure.
May I?
Yes.
This is A Course in Miracles. Think about that. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Now, they're not saying that the course is a required course, that you take the Course in Miracles. It's saying what's taught in the Course in Miracles are the fundamental lessons that we all have to learn no matter where we learn them. We're all going to be exposed to them during our lifetime. And you can learn these lessons many places, whether it's reading A Course in Miracles or coming across them otherwise. Just what Eric taught you today about that he used the example of caring for his parents and the way we can care for our politicians. He taught you a beautiful lesson, didn't he? He shared a beautiful lesson on choosing love, not fear. Thank you so much, Eric, from the bottom of my heart. That was incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tying it together, you and I tying it together, that caregiving role feels like a bit of a game changer. I'm just, when my father died, and I was grieving not just the loss of my father, but the loss of a role of a caregiver. And I meditated and I prayed and I asked, so what do I do now? And I had a very clear, intuitive voice say, continue being a caregiver, but now you have everyone to care for. It's not a specific person. It's everyone.
Oh,
And that,
oh my God.
that led to my
That's
YouTube
beautiful.
channel. And it led to this conversation that you and I are having. It's
Oh,
why I do
thank
breath
you.
work and teach meditation as well and teach the course.
Thank you so much. I can tell you that, I've been doing this for 40 years or more. It's only lately, it's like I'm feeling a house-sized boulder in me shift. It's it's the blocks to love's awareness have been falling away for decades, but there's this big boulder of having to do with willingness, just basic willingness to go all the way, all the way into love and leave fear behind, uh, at every level. That's shifting in me gradually now, and it's just been in the last few weeks. So I'm very grateful to be here, and even saying all these things to everyone is just another way of saying them to myself, too. It's reminding me what matters. When Eric or I or anyone put themselves out to an audience, we're having to speak to ourselves first and foremost. Like he's talking about learning, listening and learning from spirit, that he's now a caretaker of the world. He's a caretaker of oneness. It's so beautiful to hear him say this. It's so important for me to hear things like this. Thank you so much again. Yeah. And I thank the whole audience. Thank you for coming and sharing today with us. So glad to have you here. I don't know how
Um,
many people are here, but I see comments down below.
and
Yeah.
great questions. We had some great questions.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Kathryn, let me ask you if you would be willing, maybe uh, February or March, we can do a part two.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to. We just have to come up with a topic. If anyone has a topic they want us to talk about with you, write a note to Eric, um, and let him know. Um, we can always just talk about where we are in February or March, or we can talk about a specific topic, maybe even in relation to where we are in February or March.
Right. I'd love to open up a session to maybe nothing but questions.
I'd love it. We can do that. Yeah.
Um, so we'll wrap things up. Kathryn, I just want to give you a big thank you.
Thanks so much for having me on today, Eric.
Uh,
I have no idea how I get off the call.
I'll go ahead and end everything for both of us.
Okay.
While we're on the subject of thanking, I want to give a big thank you to Vicky for introducing me to you.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
So,
Yeah. I talked to
namaste.
her today.
Oh,
Namaste. She's
namaste.
very busy if anyone's interested. She and a bunch of her friends are putting together for, I think it won't be until 2027, next year. They're going to have something instead. I don't know if you're old enough to be familiar with Woodstock,
Hmm.
which was going on in 1969. Um, she and her friends are putting together, I think it's going to be called Lovestock, which will be a spiritual Woodstock. I don't know what's going to happen yet. They're having an awful lot of fun planning it, so I'm sure we'll all hear more as time passes. If you want to come, it'll be somewhere in Massachusetts, New York, or New Jersey, probably.
That would be a hard thing to pass up.
I
Uh,
know it's going to be a hoot, I think.
so stay tuned, guys. Let's
Stay
see what
tuned.
comes from this. So, Kathryn, again, thank you very much. And I will send you an email of our conversation, and I will be making shorts of it. As I mentioned before, that those are so valuable. Just those snippets of our conversation that will reach more people than the entirety.
Yes.
So I'll share those with you as well.
May I also comment? It occurs to me if anyone has a question after we hang up, or wants to say something to me, I'm on Facebook. So just under my name, Kathryn Duflo, Duflo, and you can find me there.
Okay, and I can share your, if you want, I can share your Facebook in the description.
Yes, you can always. I guess did I say message? Yeah, you can message me there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Um,
And if you have something good for Lovestock, I mean, if you're musicians or have something that you feel would add to a spiritual love fest, you can also let me know on Facebook or let Eric know, either one of us, and we'll pass it along.
yeah. This will be the event.
This will be the event of the year next year, believe me.
I bet. One time I would like to talk to you about Woodstock and that generation, and um, did they live up to their spiritual potential?
The people I know that went to Woodstock, I had just gotten out of college and I was not very far away, but I had a date with a gym teacher and he didn't want to go to Woodstock and so I didn't go. It was going to rain.
And it did.
And it poured rain. Yes, what my best friend went and they were in the mud all weekend. I don't think they were thinking spiritual thoughts. I think they were just partying and having a wonderful time, but the event itself, I think, had spiritual overtones because it was about oneness. It drew people together in an amazing way.
Sure.
It was mobbed, just mobbed.
It had an opening prayer from Satchinanda, who later went down to found Yogiville in Virginia, and Ravi
Hmm.
Shankar played
Hmm.
beautiful music. Um, I just read an
Yes.
interesting story of Carlos Santana. Was supposed to play in the evening, so in order to pass time during the day, he dropped LSD. And then
Those were the days, I'll tell you.
the promoter came to him and said, "Oh, there's been a mistake. We need you to come up and play now." And he was just hitting the peak. And if you watch the video of him doing, uh, was it soul music?
Mm.
And you can look it up on YouTube. He said he was seeing a snake. The stem of his guitar became a snake, and he was trying to wrestle it. So he's making faces as he's playing, and he's moving it all over the place because he's wrestling with a snake.
Oh, that is too much. I hadn't heard that story. A lot of stories came out of Woodstock. It was certainly the party of the century. Oh, I heard a lot of them when my friend came home covered with mud.
I bet. So we get a chance to relive it now at Lovestock, hopefully 2027. Um,
Maybe not quite so gritty and alcoholic and drug
drug
fueled.
abuse, but love fueled for sure. That's going to be love fueled for sure.
Yes, Lovestock. So, thank you so much. Namaste. See you soon, guys.
Namaste.
Everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.